Book 1 to The Battle of Marathon by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recorded by Nathan at antipodeanwriter.wordpress.com. The Battle of Marathon by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. Book 1. The war of Greece with Persia's haughty king. No vulgar strain, eternal goddess, sing. What dreary ghosts to glutted Pluto fled, what nations suffered, and what heroes bled. Sing, Asia's powerful prince, who envious saw the fame of Athens and her might in war, and scorns her power at Cytherea's call, her ruin plans and meditates her fall. How Athens, blinded to the approaching chains by Vulcan's artful spouse, unmoved remains. Deceived by Venus thus, unconquered Greece forgot her glories in the lap of peace, while Asia's realms and Asia's lord prepare to ensnare her freedom by the wiles of war. Hippoust exult upon the Athenian throne, where once Pisistratus his father shone, for yet her son Aeneas wrongs impart, revenge and grief to Cytherea's heart. And still from smoking Troy's once sacred wall does Priam's reeking shade for vengeance call. Minerva saw, and Paphia's queen defied, a boon she begged, nor Jove the boon denied, that Greece should rise triumphant o'er her foe, disarm the invaders, and their power overthrow. Her prayer obtained, the blue-eyed goddess flies, as the fierce eagle through the radiant skies. To Aristides then she stood confessed, shows Persia's arts and fires his warlike breast. Then pours celestial ardour o'er his frame, and points the way to glory and to fame. Awe-struck the Chief, and swells his troubled soul, in pride and wonder thoughts progressive roll. He inly groaned, and smote his labouring breast, at once by Pallas and by care oppressed. Inspired he moved, earth echoed where he trod, all full of heaven, all burning with the god. The Athenians viewed with awe the mighty man, to whom the Chief impassioned thus began. Hear, all ye sons of Greece, friends, fathers, hear! The gods command it, and the gods revere. No madness mine, for mark, O favoured Greeks, that by my mouth the martial goddess speaks. This know, Athenians, that proud Persia now prepares to twine thy laurels on her brow. Behold her princely chiefs their weapons wield, by Venus fired, and shake the brazen shield. I hear their shouts that echo to the skies, I see their lances blaze, their banners rise, I hear the clash of arms, the battle's roar, and all the din and thunder of the war. I know that Greeks shall purchase just renown, and fame impartial shall Athena crown. Then, Greeks, prepare your arms, award the yoke, thus Jove commands, sublime the hero spoke. The Greeks assent with shouts, and rend the skies with martial clamour, and tumultuous cries. So struggling winds with rage indignant sweep the azure waters of the silent deep. Sudden the seas rebellowing frightful rise, and dash their foaming surges to the skies, burst the firm sand, and boil with dreadful roar, lift their black waves, and combat with the shore. So each brave Greek in thought aspires to fame, stung by his words, and dread of future shame. Glory's own fires within their bosom rise, and shouts tumultuous thunder to the skies. But love's celestial Queen resentful saw the Greeks, by Pallas warned, prepare for war. The indignant goddess of the Paphian bower deceives Themistocles with heavenly power. The hero rising spoke, "O rashly blind! What sudden fury thus has seized thy mind? Boy as thou art, such empty dreams beware! Shall we for griefs and wars unsought prepare? The will of mighty Jove, whate'er it be, Obey, and own the omnipotent decree. If our disgrace and fall the Fates employ, Why did we triumph o'er perfidious Troy? Why, say, O Chief, in that eventful hour Did Grecian heroes crush Dardanian power?" Him eyeing sternly, thus the Greek replies, Renowned for truth, and as Minerva wise: "O son of Greece, no heedless boy am I, Despised in battle's toils, nor first to fly, Nor dreams or frenzy call my words astray. The heaven-sent mandate pious I obey. If Pallas did not all my words inspire, May heaven pursue me with unceasing ire! But if, O grant my prayer, Almighty Jove, I bear a mandate from the courts above, Then through yon heaven let awful thunder roar, Till Greeks believe my mission and adore." He ceased, and through the host one murmur ran, With eyes transfixed upon the godlike man. But hark! o'er earth expands the solemn sound, It lengthening grows, heaven's azure vaults resound, While peals of thunder beat the echoing ground. Prostrate, convinced, divine Themistocles Embraced the hero's hands, and clasped his knees. "Behold me here!" the awe-struck chieftain cries, While tears repentant glisten in his eyes. "Behold me here, thy friendship to entreat, Themistocles, a suppliant at thy feet. Before no haughty despot's royal throne This knee has bent, it bends to thee alone, Thy mission to adore, thy truth to own. Behold me, Jove, and witness what I swear, By all on earth I love, by all in heaven I fear, Some fiend inspired my words of dark design, Some fiend concealed beneath a robe divine. Then aid me in my prayer, ye gods above, Bid Aristides give me back his love." He spake and wept, benign the godlike man Felt tears descend, and paused, then thus began: "Thrice worthy Greek, for this shall we contend? Ah no, I feel thy worth, thou more than friend. Pardon sincere, Themistocles, receive, The heart declares 'tis easy to forgive." He spake divine, his eye with Pallas burns, He spoke and sighed, and sighed and wept by turns. Themistocles beheld the chief oppressed, awestruck he paused, then rushed upon his breast, whom sage Miltiades with joy addressed. Hero of Greece, worthy a hero's name, adored by Athens, favourite child of fame, glory's own spirit does with truth combine, to form a soul so godlike, so divine. O Aristides, rise our chief to save the fame, the might of Athens from the grave, nor then refuse thy noble arm to lend, to guard Athena and her state defend. First I, obedient, customed homage pay, to own a hero's and a leader's sway, he said, and would have knelt. The man divine perceived his will, and stayed the sire's design. Not mine, O sage, to lead this gallant band, he generous said, and grasped his aged hand. Proud as I am in glory's arms to rise, Athenian Greeks, to shield your liberties, yet 'tis not mine to lead your powerful state. Enough it is to tempt you to be great. Be it for Miltiades, experienced sage, to curb your ardour and restrain your rage, your souls to temper, by his skill prepare to succour Athens and conduct the war. More fits my early youth to purchase fame, by deeds in arms to immortalize my name. Firmly he spake, his words the Greek inspire, and all were hushed to listen and admire. The sage thus: most allied to gods the fame, the pride, the glory of the Grecian name, even by thee, chief, I swear, to whom is given the sacred mandate of yon marble heaven, to lead, not undeserving of thy love, to avert the yoke, if so determines Jove. Amidst the host imagination rose, and paints the combat, but disdains the woes. And heaven-born fancy, with dishevelled hair, points to the ensanguined field, and victory there. But soon, too soon, these empty dreams are driven forth from their breasts, but soothing hope is given, hope sprung from Jove, man's soul, and envied heaven. Then all his glory Aristides felt, and begged the chieftain's blessing as he knelt. Miltiades, his pious arms outspread, called Jove's high spirit on the hero's head, nor called unheard. Sublime in upper air, the bird of Jove appeared to bless his prayer. Lightning he breathed, not harsh, not fiercely bright, but one pure stream of heaven-collected light. Jove's sacred smile lulls every care to rest, calms every woe, and gladdens every breast. But what shrill blast thus bursts upon the ear? What banners rise? What heralds' forms appear? That haughty mien and that commanding face bespeak them Persians, and of noble race. One on whose hand Darius' signet beamed, superior to the rest, a leader seemed. With brow contracted and with flashing eye, thus threatening spoke in scornful majesty: "Know, Greeks, that I, a sacred herald, bring the awful mandate of the Persian king, to force allegiance from the sons of Greece. Then earth and water give, nor scorn his peace. For if for homage back reproof I bear, to meet his wrath, his vengeful wrath prepare. For not in vain ye scorn his dread command, when Asia's might comes thundering in his hand. To whom Miltiades with kindling eye. We scorn Darius, and his threats defy. And now, proud herald, shall we stoop to shame? Shall Athens tremble at a tyrant's name? Persian away, such idle dreams forbear, and shun our anger and our vengeance fear. O vain thy words, the herald fierce began, thrice vain thy dotaged words, O powerless man! Sons of a desert, hoping to withstand all the joint forces of Darius' hand. Fools, fools, the king of millions to defy, for freedom's empty name to ask to die. Yet stay, till Persia's powers their banners rear, then shall ye learn our forces to revere, and ye, O impotent, shall deign to fear. To whom great Aristides, rising ire, boiled in his breast, and set his soul on fire. "O wretch accursed," the hero cried, "to seek to insult experienced age, to insult a Greek, inglorious slave, whom truth and heaven deny, unfit to live, yet more unfit to die, but trained to pass the goblet at the board, and servile kiss the footsteps of thy lord, whose wretched life no glorious deeds beguile, who lives upon the semblance of a smile. Die, thy base shade, to gloomy regions fled, join there the shivering phantoms of the dead. Base slave, return to dust." His victim then in fearful accents cried, "O best of men, most loved of gods, most merciful, most just, behold me humbled, grovelling in the dust. Not mine the offence, the mandate stern I bring from great Darius, Asia's tyrant king. O strike not, Chief, not mine the guilt, not mine. Ah, over those brows severe let mercy shine, so dear to heaven, of origin divine. Tributes, lands, gold, shall wealthy Persia give, all and yet more, but bid me wretched live." He trembling thus persuades, with fond entreat, and nearer pressed, and clasped the hero's feet. Forth from the Grecian's breast all rage is driven, he lifts his arms, his eyes, his soul to heaven. "Hear, Jove omnipotent, all wise, all great, to whom all fate is known, whose will is fate. Hear, thou all-seeing one, hear, Sire divine, teach me thy will, and be thy wisdom mine. Behold this suppliant, life or death decree, be thine the judgment, for I bend to thee." And thus the Sire of gods and men replies, while pealing thunder shakes the groaning skies. The awful voice through spheres unknown was driven, resounding through the darkening realms of heaven. Aloft in air sublime the echo rode, and earth resounds the glory of the God. "Son of Athena, let the coward die, and his pale ghost to Pluto's empire fly. Son of Athena, our command obey, know thou our might, and then adore our sway." The Almighty spake, the heavens convulsive start, from the black clouds the whizzing lightnings dart, and dreadful dance along the troubled sky, struggling with fate in awful mystery. The hero heard, and Jove his breast inspired, nor now by pity touched, but anger fired, while his big heart within his bosom burns. Off from his speech the clinging slave he spurns. Vain were his cries, his prayers against fate above. Jove wills his fall, and who can strive with Jove? To whom the hero, "Hence to Pluto's sway, to realms of night never lit by Cynthia's ray. Hence, from yon gulf the earth and water bring, and crown with victory your mighty king," he said. And where the gulf of death appeared, where raging waves with rocks sublimely reared, he hurled the wretch, at once of hope bereaved. Struggling he fell, the roaring flood received, Even now for life his shrieks, his groans implore, and now death's latent agony is o'er. He struggling sinks, and sinks to rise no more. The train amazed behold their herald die, and Greece in arms, they tremble and they fly. So some fair herd upon the verdant mead see by the lion's jaws their foremost bleed. Fearful they fly, lest what revolving fate had doomed their leader should themselves await. Then shouts of glorious war and fame resound, Athena's brazen gates receive the lofty sound. But she whom Paphia's radiant climes adore, from her own bower the work of Pallas saw. Tumultuous thoughts within her bosom rise, she calls her car, and at her will it flies. The eternal car with gold celestial burns, its polished wheel on brazen axle turns. This to his spouse by Vulcan's self was given, an offering worthy of the forge of heaven. The goddess mounts the seat and seized the reins, the doves celestial cut the ethereal plains. Before the sacred birds and car of gold, self-moved the radiant gates of heaven unfold. She then dismounts, and thus to mighty Jove begins the mother and the queen of love. And is it thus, O sire, that fraud should spring from the pure breast of heaven's eternal King? Was it for this Saturnius word was given, that Greece should fall 'mong nations cursed of heaven? Thou swore by hell's black flood and heaven above. Is this, O say, is this the faith of Jove? Behold, stern Pallas Athens' sons alarms, Darius' herald crushed, the Greece in arms. Even now behold her crested streamers fly, each Greek resolved to triumph or to die. Ah me unhappy, when shall sorrow cease? Too well I know the fatal might of Greece. Was it not enough imperial Troy should fall, that Argive hands should raise the god-built wall? Was it not enough Anchises' son should roam far from his native shore and much-loved home? All this, unconscious of thy fraud, I bore, for thou, O sire, to allay my vengeance swore, that Athens, towering in her might, should fall, and Rome should triumph on her prostrate wall. But oh, if haughty Greece should captive bring the great Darius, Persia's mighty king, what power her pride, what power her might shall move? Not even the Thunderer, not eternal Jove, even to thy heaven shall rise her towering fame, and prostrate nations will adore her name. Rather on me thy instant vengeance take, then all should fall for Cytherea's sake. Oh, hurl me flaming in the burning lake, transfix me there unknown to Olympian calm. Launch thy red bolt and bare thy crimson arm, I'd suffer all, more, bid my woes increase, to hear but one sad groan from haughty Greece. She thus her grief with fruitless rage expressed, and pride and anger swelled within her breast. But he whose thunders o'er the troubled sky thus mournful spake, and curbed the rising sigh. And it is thus celestial pleasures flow? Even here shall sorrow reach, and mortal woe? Shall strife the heavenly powers for ever move, and even insult the sacred ear of Jove? No, O rebellious! Greece shall rise sublime in fame the first, nor, daughter, mine the crime, in valour foremost, and in virtue great. Fame's highest glories shall attend her state, so fate ordains, nor all my boasted power can raise those virtues or those glories lower. But rest secure, destroying time must come, and Athens' self must own imperial Rome. Then the great Thunderer, and with visage mild, shook his ambrosial curls before his child, and bending awful gave the eternal nod. Heaven quaked, and fate adored the parent God. Joy seized the goddess of the smiles and loves, nor longer care her heavenly bosom moves. Hope rose, and o'er her soul its powers displayed, nor checked by sorrow, nor by grief dismayed. She thus: "O thou, whose awful thunders roll through heaven's ethereal vaults and shake the pole, eternal Sire, so wonderfully great, to whom is known the secret page of fate, say, shall great Persia, next to Rome most dear to Venus' breast, shall Persia learn to fear? Say, shall her fame and princely glories cease? Shall Persia, servile, own the sway of Greece?" To whom the Thunderer bent his brow divine, and thus in accents heavenly and benign: "Daughter, not mine the secrets to relate, the mysteries of all revolving fate, but ease thy breast. Enough for thee to know what powerful fate decrees will Jove bestow." He then her griefs and anxious woes beguiled, and in his sacred arms embraced his child. Doubt clouds the goddess' breast, she calls her car, and lightly sweeps the liquid fields of air, when sable night midst silent nature springs, and over Athena shakes her drowsy wings. The Paphian goddess from Olympus flies, and leaves the starry senate of the skies. To Athens, heaven blest, towers the Queen repairs, to raise more sufferings and cause more cares. The Pylian sage she moved, so loved by fame, in face, in wisdom, and in voice the same. 12 chiefs in sleep absorbed and grateful rest she first beheld, and them she thus addressed: "Immortal chiefs," the fraudful goddess cries, while all the hero kindled in her eyes, "for you these aged arms did I employ, for you we razed the sacred walls of Troy, and now for you my shivering shade is driven from Pluto's dreary realms by urgent heaven. Then oh, be wise, nor tempt the unequal fight in open fields, but wait superior might within immortal Athens' sacred wall. There strive, there triumph, nor there fear to fall. To own the Thunderer's sway, then Greeks prepare." Benign she said, and melted into air. End of Book 1. Recorded by Nathan at antipodeanwriter.wordpress.com. Book 2 of The Battle of Marathon by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recorded by Nathan at antipodeanwriter.wordpress.com. The Battle of Marathon by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. Book 2. When from the briny deep the orient morn exalts her purple light and beams unshorn, and when the flaming orb of infant day glares over the earth and reillumes the sky, the 12 deceived with souls on fire arose, while the false vision fresh in memory glows. The senate first they sought, whose lofty wall midst Athens rises and overshadows all. The pride of Greece, it lifts its front sublime, unbent amidst the ravages of time. High on their towering seats the heroes found, the chiefs of Athens solemn ranged around. One of the 12, the great Clombrotus then, renowned for piety and loved by men. Assembled heroes, chiefs to Pallas dear, all great in battle and in virtue, hear! When night with sable wings extended rose, and wrapped our weary limbs in sweet repose, I and my friends, Cydoon famed in song, fell on the valiant Heracles the strong, Cleon and Thermosites in battle great, by Pallas loved and blessed by partial fate. To us and other six, while day toils steep, our eyes in happy dreams and grateful sleep, the Pylian sage appeared, but not as when on Troy's last dust he stood, the pride of men. Driven from the shore of Acheron he came, from lower realms to point the path to fame. "O glorious chiefs," the sacred hero said, "for you and for your fame all Troy has bled. Hither for you my shivering shade is driven, from Pluto's dreary realms by urgent heaven. Then oh, be wise, nor tempt th' unequal fight In open field, but wait superior might Within immortal Athens' sacred wall. There strive their triumph, nor their fear to fall. To own the Thunderer's sway, then Greeks prepare." Benign he said, and melted into air. "Leave us not thus," I cried, "O Pylian sage, Experienced Nestor, famed for reverend age! Say first, great hero, shall the trump of fame Our glory publish, or disclose our shame? Oh, what are Athens' fates?" In vain I said, Even as I spoke the shadowy Chief had fled. Then here we flew to own the vision's sway, And heaven's decrees to adore and to obey. He thus, and as before the blackened skies Sound the hoarse breezes, murmuring as they rise, So through the assembled Greeks one murmur rose, One long dull echo lengthening as it goes. Then all was hushed in silence, breathless awe Oppressed each tongue, and trembling they adore. But now uprising from the astonished chiefs, Divine Miltiades exposed his griefs. For well the godlike warrior sage had seen The frauds deceitful of the Paphian queen, And feared for Greece to whom is given Eternal fame, the purest gift of heaven. And yet he feared the pious hero rose, Majestic in his sufferings, in his woes. Grief clammed his tongue, but soon his spirit woke, Words burst aloft, and all the patriot spoke. "O Athens, Athens, all the snares I view, Thus shalt thou fall, and fall inglorious too. Are all thy boasted dignities no more? Is all thy might and all thy glories o'er? Oh woe on woe, unutterable grief! Not Nestor's shade, that cursed phantom chief, But in that reverend air, that lofty mien, Behold the frauds of love's revengeful Queen. Not yet her thoughts does vengeance cease to employ, Her son Aeneas' wrongs and burning Troy Not yet forgotten lie within her breast, Nor soothed by time, nor by despair depressed. Greeks still extolled by glory and by fame, For yet, O Chiefs, ye bear a Grecian name. If in these walls, these sacred walls, we wait The might of Persia and the will of fate, Before superior force will Athens fall, And one overwhelming ruin bury all. Then in the open plain your might essay, Rush on to battle, crush Darius' sway. The frauds of Venus, warrior Greeks, beware, Disdain the Persian foes, nor stoop to fear. This said, Clombrotus him indignant heard, Nor felt his wisdom, nor his wrath he feared. With rage the Chief the godlike sage beheld, And passion in his stubborn soul rebelled. "Thrice impious man!" the infuriate Chieftain cries, Flames black and fearful flashing from his eyes. "Where lies your spirit, Greeks? And can ye bow To this proud upstart of your power so low? What! does his aspect awe ye? In his eye, So full of haughtiness and majesty, Behold the impious soul that dares defy The power of gods and Sovereign of the sky. And can your hands no sacred weapon wield To crush the tyrant and your country shield? On, Greeks! your sons, your homes, your country free From such usurping chiefs and tyranny!" He said, and grasped his weapon. At his words Beneath the horizon gleamed 10,000 swords, 10,000 swords, Even in one instant raised. Sublime they danced aloft, and midst the Senate blazed. Nor wisdom checked, nor gratitude repressed, They rose and flashed before the sage's breast. With pride undaunted, greatness unsubdued, 'Gainst him in arms the impetuous Greeks he viewed. Unarmed, unawed, before the infuriate bands, Nor begged for life, nor stretched his suppliant hands. He stood astounded, riveted, oppressed By grief unspeakable which swelled his breast. Life, feeling, being, sense forgotten lie, Buried in one wide waste of misery. Can this be Athens, this her Senate's pride? He asked but gratitude, was this denied? Though Europe's homage at his feet were hurled, Athens forsakes him, Athens was his world. Unutterable woe, by anguish stung, All his full soul rushed, heaving, to his tongue, And thoughts of power, of fame, of greatness o'er. He cried, "Athenians!" and he could no more. Awed by that voice of agony, that word, Hushed were the Greeks, and sheathed the obedient sword. They stood abashed. To them the ancient Chief Began, and thus relieved his swelling grief: "Athenians, warrior Greeks, my words revere. Strike me, but listen; bid me die, but hear. Hear not Clombrotus when he bids you wait At Athens' walls, Darius and your fate. I feel that Pallas' self my soul inspires, My mind she strengthens, and my bosom fires. Strike, Greeks, but hear me; think not to this heart Yon thirsty swords one breath of fear impart. Such slavish, low-born thoughts to Greeks unknown A Persian feels and cherishes alone. Hear me, Athenians, hear me, and believe. See Greece mistaken, e'en the gods deceive. But fate yet wavers, yet may wisdom move These threatening woes, and thwart the Queen of Love. Obey my counsels, and invoke for aid The cloud-compelling God and blue-eyed maid. I fear not for myself the silent tomb; Death lies in every shape, and death must come. But ye mock my truth, traduce my fame, Ye blast my honour, stigmatize my name. Ye call me tyrant when I wish thee free, Usurper when I live but Greece for thee." And thus the Chief, and boding silence drowned Each clamorous tongue, and sullen reigned around. O chief, great Aristides first began, mortal yet perfect, godlike and yet man, boast of ungrateful Greece, my prayer attend. O be my chieftain, guardian, father, friend, and ye, O Greeks, impetuous and abhorred, again presumptuous, lift the rebel sword, again your weapons raise in hateful ire, to crush the leader, hero, patriot, sire. Not such was Greece, when Greeks united stood to bathe perfidious Troy in hostile blood. Not such were Greeks, inspired by glory then, as gods they conquered, now they're less than men, degenerate race, now lost to once loved fame, traitors to Greece and to the Grecian name. Who now your honours, who your praise will seek, who now shall glory in the name of Greek? But since such discords your base souls divide, procure the lots, let Jove and heaven decide. To him Clombrotus thus admiring cries, Thy thoughts how wondrous, and thy words how wise! So let it be, avert the threatened woes, and Jove be present, and the right disclose. But give me, sire of gods and powers above, the heavenly vision and my truth to prove. Give me to avenge the breach of all thy laws, to avenge myself, then aid my righteous cause. If this thou wilt, I'll to thine altars lead 12 bulls, which to thy sacred name shall bleed. 6 snow-white heifers of a race divine prostrate shall fall, and heap the groaning shrine. Nor this the most, 6 rams that fearless stray, untouched by man, for thee this arm shall slay. Thus prayed the Chief, with shouts the heavens resound. Jove weighs the balance, and the lots go round. Declare, O Muse, for to thy piercing eyes the book of fate irrevocably lies. What lots leapt forth on that eventful day? Who won, who lost, all-seeing Goddess, say. First great Clombrotus all his fortune tried, and strove with fate, but Jove his prayer denied. Infuriate to the skies his arms are driven, and raging thus upbraids the King of Heaven. Is this the virtue of the blest abodes, and this the justice of the God of gods? Can he who hurls the bolt and shakes the sky, the prayer of truth, unblemished truth, deny? Has he no faith by whom the clouds are riven, who sits superior on the throne of heaven? No wonder earth-born men are prone to fall in sin, or listen to dishonour's call, when gods, the immortal gods, transgress the laws of truth and sin against a righteous cause. Furious, he said, by anger's spirit fired, then sullen from the Senate walls retired. 'Tis now Miltiades' stern fate to dare, but first he lifts his pious soul in prayer. Daughter of Jove, the mighty Chief began, without thy wisdom frail and weak is man. A phantom Greece adores, oh show thy power, and prove thy love in this eventful hour. Crown all thy glory, all thy might declare. The chieftain prayed, and Pallas heard his prayer. Swayed by the presence of the power divine, the fated lot, Miltiades, was thine. That hour the swelling trump of partial fame diffused eternal glory on thy name. Daughter of Jove, he cries, unconquered maid, thy power I own, and I confess thy aid. For this 12 ewes upon thy shrine shall smoke, of milk-white fleece, the comeliest of their flock, while hecatombs and generous sacrifice shall fume and blacken half the astonished skies. And thus the chief the shouting Greeks admire, while truth's bright spirit sets their souls on fire. Then thus Themistocles: "Ye Grecian host, not now the time for triumph or for boast. Now, Greeks, for graver toils your minds prepare, not for the strife, but counsel of the war. Behold the sacred herald sent by Greece to Sparta's vales, now hushed in leagues of peace, her chiefs to aid the common cause to implore, and bid Darius shun the Argive shore. Behold him here, then let the leader Greek command the bearer of our hopes to speak." And thus the sage: "Wherever the herald stands, bid him come forth, 'tis Athens' chief commands, and bid him speak with freedom uncontrolled, his thoughts deliver, and his charge unfold." He said, and sate; the Greeks impatient wait the will of Sparta and Athena's fate. Silent they sate, so ere the whirlwinds rise, ere billows foam and thunder to the skies, Nature in death-like calm her breath suspends, and hushed in silent awe the approaching storm attends. Now midst the Senate's walls the herald stands. "Ye Greeks," he said, and stretched his sacred hands, "assembled heroes, ye Athenian bands, and thou, beloved of Jove, our chief, O sage, renowned for wisdom as renowned for age, and all ye chiefs in battle rank divine, no joyful mission swayed by Pallas mine. The hardy Spartans with one voice declare their will to aid our freedom and our war. Instant they armed, by zeal and impulse driven, but on the plains of the mysterious heaven comets and fires were writ, an awful sign and dreadful omen of the wrath divine. While threatened plagues upon their shores appear, they curb their valour, all subdued by fear. The oracles declare the will above, and of the sister and the wife of Jove, that not until the moon's bright course was o'er, the Spartan warriors should desert their shore. Threats following threats succeed the mandate dire, plagues to themselves and to their harvest fire. The Spartan chiefs desist, their march delay, to wait the appointed hour and heaven obey. Grief smote my heart, my hopes and mission vain. Their town I quitted for my native plain, and when an eminence I gained in woe, I gazed upon the verdant fields below, where nature's ample reign, extending wide, displays her graces with commanding pride, where cool Eurotas winds her limpid floods, through verdant valleys and through shady woods, and crowned in majesty, overtowering all, in bright effulgence Sparta's lofty wall. To these I looked farewell, and humbled bowed, in chastened sorrow to the thundering God. 'Twas thus I mused, when from a verdant grove, that wafts delicious perfume from above, the monster Pan, his form gigantic reared, and dreadful to my awestruck sight appeared. I hailed the God who reigns supreme below, known by the horns that started from his brow up to the hips, a goat, but man's his face, though grim, and stranger to celestial grace. Within his hand a shepherd's crook he bore, the gift of Dian on the Arcadian shore. Before the immortal power I fearing bowed, congealed with dread, and thus addressed the God: "Comes Hermes' son, as awful as his sire, to vent upon the Greeks' immortal ire? Is it not enough the mandate stern I bring from Sparta's chiefs and Sparta's royal king, that heaven enjoins them to refrain from fight, till Dian fills again her horns with light? Then vain their aid, ere then may Athens fall, and Persia's haughty chiefs invest her wall." I said, and sighed. The God in accents mild my sorrow thus and rigid griefs beguiled. "Not to destroy I come, O chosen Greek, not Athens' fall, but Athens' fame I seek. Then give again to honour and to fame my power despised and my forgotten name. At Sparta's doom no longer, Chief, repine, but learn submission to the will divine. Behold even now, within this fated hour, on Marathonian plains the Persian power. Even Hippias' self inspires the embattled host, the Athenians' terror as the Persians' boast. Bid Athens rise, and glory's powers attest. Enough, no more, the fates conceal the rest." He said, his visage burned with heavenly light. He spoke, and speaking vanished from my sight. And awed I sought where those loved walls invite. But think not, warrior Greeks, the fault is mine. If Athens fall, it is by wrath divine. I vainly grieve, the evil springs from him, the God of gods, the King of kings." The herald said, and bent his sacred head, while cherished hope from every bosom fled. Each dauntless hero, by despair depressed, felt the deep sorrow swelling in his breast. They mourn for Athens, friendless and alone. Cries followed cries, and groan succeeded groan. The Athenian matrons, startled at the sound, rush from their looms, and anxious crowd around. They ask the cause. The fatal cause is known by each fond sigh and each renewing groan, while in their arms some infant love they bear, at once for which they joy, for which they fear. Hushed on its mother's breast, the cherished child, unconscious midst the scene of terror, smiled. On rush the matrons, they despairing seek Miltiades, adored by every Greek. Him found at length, his counsels they entreat, hang on his knees and clasp his sacred feet. Their babes before him on the ground they throw, in all the maddening listlessness of woe. First Delopeia, of the matrons chief, thus vents her bursting soul in frantic grief, while her fond babe she holds aloft in air. Thus her roused breast prefers a mother's prayer: "O son of Cimon, for the Grecians raise to heaven thy fame, thy honour, and thy praise. Thus shall Athens and her heroes fall. Shall thus one ruin seize and bury all? Say, shall these babes be strangers then to fame, and be but Greeks in spirit and in name? O first, ye gods, and hear a mother's prayer, first let them glorious fall in ranks of war. If Asia triumph, then shall Hippias reign, and Athens' freeborn sons be slaves again. O son of Cimon, let thy influence call the souls of Greeks to triumph or to fall, and guard their own, their children's country's name, from foul dishonour and eternal shame." Thus through her griefs the love of glory broke. The mother wept, but 'twas the patriot spoke. And as before, the Greek she bowed with grace, the lucid drops bedewed her lovely face. Their shrieks and frantic cries the matrons cease, and death-like silence awes the sons of Greece. Thrice did the mighty chief of Athens seek to curb his feelings and essay to speak. 'Twas vain, the ruthless sorrow wrung his breast, his mind disheartened and his soul oppressed. He thus, while over his cheek the moisture stole: "Retire, ye matrons, nor unman my soul. Though little strength this aged arm retains, my swelling soul Athena's foe disdains. Hushed be your griefs, to heaven for victory cry, Assured will triumph, or with freedom die. And ye, O chiefs, when night disowns her sway, And pensive Dian yields her power to day, To quit these towers for Marathon prepare, And brave Darius in the ranks of war. For yet may Jove protect the Grecian name, And crown in unborn ages Athens' fame." He said, and glowing with the warlike fire, And cheered by hope, the godlike chiefs retire. Now Cynthia rules the earth, the flaming God in ocean sinks, green Neptune's old abode. Black Erebus on drowsy pinions springs, And o'er Athena cowers his sable wings. End of Book 2. Recorded by Nathan at antipodeanwriter.wordpress.com. Book 3 of The Battle of Marathon by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recorded by Nathan at antipodeanwriter.wordpress.com. The Battle of Marathon by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. Book 3. When from the deep the hour's eternal sway Impels the coursers of the flaming day, the long-haired Greeks with brazen arms prepare Their freedom to preserve and wage the war. First Aristides from the couch arose, While his great mind with all Minerva glows. His mighty limbs his golden arms invest, The cuirass blazes on his ample breast, The glittering cuisses both his legs enfold, And the huge shields on fire with burnished gold. His hands two spears uphold of equal size, And fame's bright glories kindle in his eyes. Upon his helmet plumes of horsehair nod, And forth he moved, majestic as a god. Upon his snorting steed the warrior sprung, The courser neighed, the brazen armour rung. From heaven's ethereal heights the martial maid With conscious pride hero's might surveyed. Him as she eyed, she shook the Gorgon shield. "Henceforth to me," she cried, "let all the immortals yield. Let monster Mars the Latian regions own, For Attica Minerva stands alone." And now the unconquered chief of justice gains The Senate's walls, and there the steed detains, Whence he dismounts Miltiades he seeks, Beloved of Jove, the leader of the Greeks. Nor sought in vain, there clad in armour bright, The chieftain stood, all eager for the fight. Within his aged hands two lances shine, The helmet blazed upon his brows divine, And as he bends beneath the unequal weight, Youth smiles again, when with gigantic might His nervous limbs immortal arms could wield. rush foe on foe, and raging heap the field. Yet though such days were past, and ruthless age transformed the warrior to the thoughtful sage, though the remorseless hand of silent time impaired each joint and stiffened every limb, yet through his breast the fire celestial stole, throbbed in his veins, and kindled in his soul. In thought the Lord of Asia threats no more, and Hippias bites the dust mid seas of gore. Him as he viewed, the youthful hero's breast heaved high with joy, and thus the sage addressed: "Chief, best beloved of Pallas," he began, "in fame allied to gods, O wondrous man! Behold Apollo gilds the Athenian wall. Our freedom waits, and fame and glory call to battle Asia's king, and myriads dare swell the loud trump, and swell the din of war." He said impatient, then the warrior sage began, regardless of the fears of age: "Not mine, O youth, with caution to control the fire and glory of thy eager soul. So was I wont in brazen arms to shine, such strength and such impatient fire were mine." He said, and bade the trumpet's peals rebound high, and more high the echoing war notes sound. Sudden one general shout the din replies, 1,000 lances blazing as they rise, and Athens' banners wave and float along the skies. So from the marsh the cranes embodied fly, clap their glad wings, and cut the liquid sky. With thrilling cries they mount their joyful way, vigorous they spring, and hail the new-born day. So rose the shouting Greeks, inspired by fame, to assert their freedom and maintain their name. First came Themistocles, in arms renowned, whose steed impatient tore the trembling ground. High o'er his helmet snowy plumes arise, and shade that brow which Persia's might defies. A purple mantle graceful waves behind, nor hides his arms, but floats upon the wind. His mighty form two crimson belts enfold, rich in embroidery, and stiff with gold. Callimachus, the Polemarch, next came, the theme of general praise and general fame. Cynaegirus, who even the gods would dare heap ranks on ranks, and thunder through the war. His virtues godlike, man's his strength surpassed, in battle foremost, and in flight the last. His ponderous helms a shaggy lion's hide, and the huge war-axe clattered at his side. The mighty chief a brazen chariot bore, while fame and glory hail him and adore. Antenor next his aid to Athens gave, like Paris youthful, and like Hector brave. Cleon, Minerva's priest, experienced sage, advanced in wisdom as advanced in age. Agregoras, Delenus' favourite child, the parents' cares the glorious son beguiled. But now he leaves his sire to seek his doom, his country's freedom, or a noble tomb. And young Aratus, moved with youthful pride, and heart elated at the hero's side. Next thou, Cleones, thou triumphant moved, by Athens honoured, by the Greeks beloved, and Cephalinus the echoing pavements trod, from youth devoted to the martial god. Honour unspotted crowned the hero's name, unbounded virtue and unbounded fame. Such heroes shone the foremost of the host, all Athens' glory and all Athens' boast. Behind a sable cloud of warriors rise, with ponderous arms and shouting rend the skies. These bands with joy Miltiades inspire, fame fills his breast and sets his soul on fire. Aloft he springs into the gold-wrought car, while the shrill blast resounds, "To war! To war!" The coursers plunge, as conscious of their load, and proudly neighing, feel they bear a god. The snow-white steeds by Pallas' self were given, which sprung from the immortal breed of heaven. The car was wrought of brass and burnished gold, and diverse figures on its bulk were told, of heroes who, in plunging to the fight, shrouded Troy's glories in eternal night. Of fierce Pylades, who, relenting, gave at Priam's prayer to Hector's corpse a grave. Here Spartan Helen flies her native shore, to bid proud Troy majestic stand no more. There Hector clasps his consort to his breast, consoles her sufferings, though himself oppressed. And there he rushes to the embattled field, for victory or death, nor even in death to yield. Here Ilium prostrate feels the Argive ire, her heroes perished and her towers on fire. And here old Priam breathes his last drawn sigh, and feels 'tis least of all his griefs to die. There his loved sire, divine Aeneas, bears, and leaves his own with all a patriot's tears, while in one hand he holds his weeping boy, and looks his last on lost, unhappy Troy. The warrior seized the reins, the impatient steeds foam at the mouth and spring where glory leads. The gates the heroes pass, the Athenian dames bend from their towers and bid them save from flames their walls, their infant heirs, and fill the skies with shouts, entreaties, prayers, and plaintive cries. Echo repeats their words, the sounds impart new vigour to each Greek's aspiring heart. Forward with shouts they press, and hastening on, try the bold lance and dream of Marathon. Meanwhile the Persians on the embattled plain prepare for combat, and the Greeks disdain. Twice 20 sable bulls they daily pay, unequalled homage to the god of day. Such worthy gifts the wealthy warriors bring, and such the offerings of the Persian king. While the red wine around his altars flowed, they beg protection from the flaming god. But the bright patron of the Trojan war accepts their offerings, but rejects their prayer. The power of love alone dares rigid fate to vent on Greece her vengeance and her hate. Not love for Persia prompts the vengeful dame, but hate for Athens and the Grecian name. In Phoebus' name the fraudful queen receives the hecatombs and happy omens gives. And now the heralds with one voice repeat the will of Datis echoing through the fleet, to council, to convene the Persian train, that Athens' chiefs should brave their might in vain. The chiefs and Hippias' self his will obey, and seek the camp the heralds lead the way. There on the couch their leader Datis sate, in ease luxurious and in kingly state. Around his brow pride deep and scornful played, a purple robe his slothful limbs arrayed, which o'er his form its silken draperies fold. Majestic sweeps the ground and glows with gold, while Artaphernes, resting at his side, surveys the advancing train with conscious pride. The elder leader, mighty Datis, then assembled princes, great and valiant men, and thou thrice glorious Hippias, loved by heaven, to whom, as to thy sire, is Athens given. Behold the Grecian banners float afar, shouting they hail us and provoke the war. Then, mighty chiefs and princes, be it yours to warm and fire the bosoms of our powers, that when the morn has spread her saffron light, the Greeks may own and dread Darius' might. For know, O chiefs, when once proud Athens falls, when Persian flames shall reach her haughty walls, from her depression wealth to you shall spring, and honour, fame, and glory to your king. He said, his words the princes' breasts inspire, silent they bend, and with respect retire. And now the Greeks in able marches gain, by Pallas fired the Marathonian plain. Before their eyes the unbounded ocean rolls, and all Darius' fleet unawed their souls. They fix their banners, and the tents they raise, and in the sun their polished javelins blaze. Their leader's self within the brazen car their motions orders, and prepares for war. Their labours over, the aged hero falls, the chiefs to council midst the canvas walls. And then the sage, how great the Persian host! But let them not their strength or numbers boast, their slothful minds to love of fame unknown. Sigh not for war, but for the spoil alone. strangers to honour's pure immortal light. They not as heroes, but as women fight, grovelling as proud and cowardly as vain. The Greeks they fear, their numbers they disdain. And now, Athenians, fired by glory, rise and lift your fame unsullied to the skies. Your victim, Persia, liberty your prize. And now 20 sable bullocks bring to heap the altars of the thundering King. Bid 12 white heifers of gigantic breed to Jove's great daughter, wise Minerva, bleed, and then in sleep employ the solemn night, nor till Apollo reigns provoke the fight. The hero said, the warlike council o'er, they raise the lofty altars on the shore. They pile in heaps the pride of all the wood. They fall the first who first in beauty stood. The pine that soars to heaven, the sturdy oak, and cedars crackle at each hero's stroke. And now 2 altars stand of equal size, and lift their forms majestic to the skies. The heroes then 20 bullocks bring, a worthy offering to the thundering King. The aged leader seized the sacred knife, blow followed blow, out gushed the quivering life. Through their black hides the ruthless steel is driven. The victims groan, Jove thunders from his heaven. And then their bulks upon the pile they lay. The flames rush upward, and the armies pray. Driven by the wind, the roaring fires ascend, and now they hiss in air, and now descend. With all their sap, the new-cut faggots raise their flames to heaven, and crackle as they blaze. And then the sage, O thou of powers above, the first and mightiest, hear, eternal Jove, give us that Athens in her strength may rise, and lift our fame and freedom to the skies. This said, he ceased. The assembled warriors pour the sacred incense, and the god adore. Then partial Jove, propitious, heard their prayer, thrice shook the heavens, and thundered through the air. With joy the Greeks the favouring sign inspires, and their breasts glow with all the warlike fires. And now 12 heifers, white as snow, they lead to great Minerva's sacred name to bleed. They fall, their bulks upon the pile are laid, sprinkled with oil, and quick in flame arrayed. And now descending midst the darkening skies, behold the goddess of the radiant eyes. The ground she touched beneath the mighty load, earth groaning rocks, and nature hails the god. Within her hand her father's lightnings shone, and shield that blazes near the eternal throne. The Greeks with fear her dauntless form surveyed, and trembling bowed before the blue-eyed maid. Then favouring thus began the power divine, while in her eyes celestial glories shine. Ye sons of Athens, loved by heaven, she cries, revered by men, be valiant and be wise. When morn awakes, Darius' numbers dare, clang your loud arms and rouse the swelling war. But first to yon proud fleet a herald send, to bid the Persians yield and fight suspend. For vainly to their God they suppliant call, Jove favours Greece, and Pallas wills their fall. She said, and through the depths of air she flies, mounts the blue heaven, and scales the liquid skies. The Greeks, rejoicing, thank the powers above, and Jove's great daughter, and eternal Jove. And now a herald to the fleet they send, to bid the Persians yield and war suspend. Through the divided troops the herald goes, through Athens' host, and through the unnumbered foes. Before the holy man the Persian bands, reverend, give way and ask what Greece demands. He tells not all, but that he chosen seeks Datis their chief by order of the Greeks. The mission but in part he sage reveals, and what his prudence prompts him he conceals. Then to their chief they lead him, where he sate, with pomp surrounded, and in gorgeous state. Around his kingly couch his arms were spread, flaming in gold by forge Cyclopean made. And then stern Datis, frowning, thus began: "What hopes deceive thee, miserable man? What treacherous fate allures thee thus to stray? Through all our hosts what gods beguile the way? Thinkest thou to 'scape the Persian steel, when Greece, our herald, crushed and banished hopes of peace? But speak, what will the Greeks, and do they dare to prove our might and tempt the unequal war? Or do they deign to own Darius' sway, and yield to Persia's might the embattled day?" To whom the Athenian herald made reply: "The Greeks disdain your terms, and scorn to fly. Unknown to heroes and to sons of Greece, the shameful slavery of a Persian peace, defiance stern, not servile gifts I bring. Your bonds detested, and despised your king, of equal size. The Greeks two altars raise, to Jove's high glory and Minerva's praise. The God propitious heard, and from the skies Descends the goddess of the azure eyes, and thus began: 'Assembled Greeks, give ear, attend my wisdom, nor my glory fear. When morn awakes, Darius' numbers dare, clang your loud arms, and rouse the swelling war. But first to yon proud fleet a herald send, to bid the Persians yield and war suspend. For vainly to their God they suppliant call, Jove favours Greece, and Pallas wills their fall.' The goddess spoke, the Athenians own her sway: 'I seek the fleet, and heaven's command obey. The Greeks disdain your millions in the war, Nor I, O Chief, your promised vengeance fear. Strike, but remember that the God on high, Who rules the heavens and thunders through the sky, Not unrevenged will see his herald slain, Nor shall thy threats his anger tempt in vain.' And thus the Greek. Then Datis thus replies, Flames black and fearful scowling from his eyes: 'Herald, away, and Asia's vengeance fear; Back to your frenzied train my mandate bear, That Greece and Grecian gods may threat in vain. We scorn their anger and their wrath disdain. For he who lights the earth and rules the skies, with happy omens to our vows replies. When morn uprising breathes her saffron light, prepare to dare our millions in the fight. Thy life I give, Darius' will to say, and Asia's hate. Hence, chief, no more, away. He said, and anger filled the Grecian's breast, but prudent he the rising wrath suppressed. Indignant through the canvas tents he strode, and silently invoked the thundering God. Fears for his country in his bosom rose, as on he wandered midst unnumbered foes. He strikes his swelling breast, and hastens on over the wide plains of barren Marathon. And now he sees the Grecian banners rise, and well-armed warriors blaze before his eyes. Then thus he spoke: "Ye Grecian bands, give ear; ye warrior chiefs and Attic heroes, hear. Your will to Asia's other prince I told, all which you bade me, chieftains, to unfold. But Pallas' vengeance I denounced in vain. Your threats he scorned, and heard with proud disdain. The God, he boasts, who lights the earth and skies, with happy omens to his vows replies. Then when the uprising morn extends her light, prepare, ye Greeks, to dare his powers in fight." He said. The Greeks for instant strife declare their will, and arm impatient for the war. Then he, their godlike chief, as Pallas sage: "Obey my counsels, and repress your rage, ye Greeks," he cried. "The sacred night displays her shadowy veil, and earth in gloom arrays. Her sable shades even Persia's chiefs obey, and wait the golden mandate of the day. Such is the will of Jove and gods above, and such the order of the loved of Jove." He said. The Greeks their leader's word obey. They seek their tents, and wait the approaching day. Over either host celestial somnus reigns, and solemn silence lulls the embattled plains. End of Book 3. Recorded by Nathan at antipodeanwriter.wordpress.com. Book 4 of The Battle of Marathon by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recorded by Nathan at antipodeanwriter.wordpress.com. The Battle of Marathon by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. Book 4. And now the morn by Jove to mortals given, with rosy fingers opes the gates of heaven. The Persian princes and their haughty lord gird on their arms and seize the flaming sword. Forth, forth they rush to tempt the battle's roar. Earth groans and shouts rebellowing shake the shore, as when the storm the heavenly azure shrouds with sable night, and heaps on clouds the clouds. The Persians rose and crowd the embattled plain, and stretch their warlike millions to the main. And now the Athenians throng the fatal field, by fame inspired, and swords and bucklers wield. In air sublime their floating banners rise, the lances blaze, the trumpets rend the skies. And then Miltiades: "Athenians, hear! Behold the Persians on the field appear. Dreadful in arms, remember, Greeks, your fame, Rush to the war, and vindicate your name. Forward, till low in death the Persians lie, For freedom triumph, or for freedom die. He said, his visage glows with heavenly light, He spoke sublime, and rushed into the fight. And now the fury of the day began, Lance combats lance, and man's opposed to man. Beneath their footsteps groans the labouring plain, And shouts re-echoing bellow to the main. Mars rages fierce by heroes, heroes die, Earth rocks, Jove thunders, and the wounded cry. What mighty chiefs by Aristides fell, What heroes perished, heavenly Goddess, tell. First thou, O Peleus, felt his conquering hand, Stretched in the dust and weltering in the sand. Through thy bright shield the forceful weapon went, Thyself in arms overthrown, thy corslet rent. Next rash Athenian met an early fate, And feared, alas, the unequal foe too late. And Delucus the sage, and Philo fell, And Croton sought the dreary gates of hell, And Mnemon's self with wealth and honour crowned, Revered for virtue and for fame renowned. He, great in battle, feared hero's hand, Groaning he fell, and spurned the reeking sand. But what bold chief thus rashly dares advance, Though not in youth he shakes the dreadful lance? Proudly the earth the haughty warrior trod, He looked a monarch, and he moved a god. Then on the Greek with rage intrepid flew, And with one blow the unwary Greek overthrew. That hour, O Chief, and that eventful day, Had bade thee pass a shivering ghost away. But Pallas, fearful for her favourite's life, Sudden upraised thee to renew the strife. Then Aristides with fresh vigour rose, Shame fired his breast, his soul with anger glows. With all his force he rushes on the foe, The warrior, bending, disappoints the blow, And thus with rage contemptuous: "Chieftain, know, Hippias, the loved of heaven, thine eyes behold, Renowned for strength of arm in battle bold. But tell thy race, and who the man whose might Dares cope with rebel Athens' king in fight?" Stung to the soul, "O slave," the Greek returns, While his big heart within his bosom burns, "Perfidious Prince, to faith and truth unknown, On Athens' ashes raise thy tyrant throne, When Grecia's chiefs and Grecia's heroes fall, When Persia's fires invest her lofty wall, When nought but slaves within her towers remain, Then, nor till then, shalt thou, O Hippias, reign; Then, nor till then, will Athens yield her fame To foul dishonour and eternal shame. Come on! No matter what my race or name, For this, O Prince, this truth unerring know, That in a Greek you meet a noble foe." Furious he said, and on the Prince he sprung, With all his force the meeting armour rung. Struggling they raged, and both together fell. That hour the tyrant's ghost had entered hell, But partial fate prolonged the Prince's breath, renewed the combat, and forbade the death. Meanwhile the hosts the present war suspend, silent they stand, and heaven's decree attend. First the bright lance majestic Hippias threw, but erringly the missile weapon flew. Then Aristides hurled thirsty dart, struck the round shield, and nearly pierced his heart. But the bright arms that shone with conscious pride received the blow, and turned the point aside. And thus the Greek: "Whom your inquiring eyes behold, O Prince, the Athenian hero cries, is Aristides, called the Just, a name by Athens honoured, nor unknown to fame." Scared at the sound, and seized by sudden fright, the Prince starts back in mean, inglorious flight. And now Bellona rages o'er the field, all strive elated, all disdain to yield. And great Themistocles, in arms renowned, stretched heaps of heroes on the groaning ground. First by his hand fell Delos' self divine, the last loved offspring of a noble line. Straight through his neck the reeking dart was driven, prostrate he sinks, and vainly calls to heaven. Next godlike Phanes, midst the Persians just, Lucan and mighty Caudos bit the dust. And now the Greek with pride imprudent dares victorious Mandrocles, renowned in wars. The agile Persian swift avoids the blow, furious disarms and grasps the unequal foe. The intrepid Greek with godlike calm awaits his instant fall, and dares the impending fates. But great Cynaegirus his danger spies, and lashed his steeds the ponderous chariot flies. Then from its brazen bulk he leaps to ground, beneath his clanging arms the plains resound. And on the Persian rushes fierce and raised, the clattering axe on high, which threatening blazed, and lopped his head. Out spouts the smoking gore, and the huge trunk rolled bleeding on the shore. And then Cynaegirus: "Thus, Persian, go, and boast thy victory in the shades below a headless form, and tell who bade thee bleed, for know a Greek performed the wondrous deed. But thou, Themistocles, O hero, say, who bade thee rush to tempt the unequal fray? But learn from this thy daring to restrain, and seek less mighty foes upon the plain." With secret wrath the youthful hero burned, and thus impetuous to the Chief returned: "Such thoughts as these unworthy those who dare the battle's rage, and tempt the toils of war, heedless of death, and by no fears oppressed. Conquest my aim, I leave to heaven the rest." He said, and glowed with an immortal light, Plunged midst the foes, and mingled in the fight. Zeno, the bravest of the Persian youth, renowned for filial piety and truth, his mother's only joy, she loved to trace his father's features in his youthful face. That sire in fight, overwhelmed mid seas of gore, slept unentombed, and cared for fame no more. And now, as youth in opening manhood glows, all his loved father in his visage rose, like him regardful of his future fame, resolved like him to immortalize his name. At glory's call he quits his native shore, and feeble parent to return no more. Oh, what prophetic griefs her bosom wrung, when on his neck in agony she hung, when on that breast she hid her sorrowing face, and feared to take or shun the last embrace. Unhappy youth, the fates decree thy doom. Those flowers, prepared for joy, shall deck thy tomb. Thy mother now no more shall hail thy name, so high enrolled upon the lists of fame, nor check the widow's tear, the widow's sigh, for even her son, her Zeno's doom to die. Zeno, even thou, for so the gods decree, a parent's threshold opes no more for thee. On him the hero turned his eye severe, nor on his visage saw one mark of fear. Their manly grace improved each separate part, and joined by ties of truth the face and heart. The supple javelin then the Grecian tries, with might gigantic, and the youth defies. Its point impetuous at his breast he flung, the brazen shield received and mocking rung. Then Zeno seized the lance, the chief defied, and scoffing thus began in youthful pride: "Go, mighty Greek, to weaker warriors go, and fear this arm and an unequal foe. A mother gave the mighty arms I bear, nor think with such a gift I cherish fear." He hurled the lance, but Pallas' self was there, and turned the point, it passed in empty air. With hope renewed, again the hero tries his boasted might. The thirsty weapon flies, in Zeno's breast it sinks, and drank the gore, and stretched the hero vanquished on the shore. Gasping for utterance, and life, and breath, for fame he sighs, nor fears approaching death. Themistocles perceived, and bending low, thought of his friends, and tears began to flow, that washed the bleeding bosom of his foe. Young Zeno then the Grecian hero eyed, rejects his offered aid, and all defied, breathed one disdainful sigh, and turned his head and died. Such Persians did the godlike warrior slay, and bade their groaning spirits pass away. Epizelus, the valiant and the strong, thundered in fight, and carried death along. Him not a Greek in strength of arms surpassed, in battle foremost, but in virtue last. He, impious man, to combat dared defy the gods themselves, and senate of sky, even earth and heaven's eternal sire. He mocks his thunders, and disdains his ire. But now the retributive hour is come, and rigid justice seals the boaster's doom. Theseus he sees within the fight revealed, to him alone, to all the rest concealed. To punish guilt he leaves the shades below, and quits the seat of never-ending woe. Pale as in death, upon his hands he bore the infernal serpent of the dreadful shore. To stay his progress should he strive to flee from Tartarus far, and gain the upper sky. this dreadful sight, with slippery sinews now wreathed round his form, and clasped his ghastly brow. With horror struck, and seized with sudden awe, the Greek beheld, nor mingled in the war. Withheld from combat by the force of fear, he trembling thus, "O say, what God draws near? But speak thy will, if 'tis a God, O speak, nor vent thy vengeance on a single Greek." Vainly he suppliant said, overpowered with fright, and instant from his eyeballs fled the sight. Confused, distracted, to the skies he throws his frantic arms, and thus bewails his woes: "Almighty, thou by whom the bolts are driven," he said, and cast his sightless balls to heaven, "restore my sight, unhappy me! Restore my own loved offspring to behold once more! So will I honour thy divine abodes, and learn how dreadful the avenging gods. And if, but oh forbid, you mock my prayer, and cruel fate me ever cursed declare, give me to yield to fame alone my life, and fall immortalized in glorious strife." He said. The God who thunders through the air frowns on his sufferings, and rejects his prayer. Around his form the dreadful aegis spread, and darts fall harmless on his wretched head, condemned by fate in ceaseless pain to groan, friendless in grief, in agony alone. Now Mars and death pervade on every side, and heroes fall, and swell the crimson tide. Not with less force the Athenian leader shone, in strife conspicuous, nor to fame unknown, advanced in wisdom and in honoured years, he nor for life, but for the battle fears. Borne swift as winds within the flying car, now here, now there, directs the swelling war. On every side the foaming coursers guides, here praises valour, and there rashness chides, while from his lips persuasive accents flow, to inspire the Athenians, or unman the foe. The glorious Greeks rush on with daring might, and shout and thunder, and increase the fight. Nor yet inglorious do the Persians shine, in battle's ranks they strength and valour join. Datis himself impels the ponderous car, through broken ranks, conspicuous in the war. In armour sheathed, and terror round him spread, he whirls his chariot over heaps of dead. Wherever he dreadful rushes, warriors fly, ghosts seek their hell, and chiefs and heroes die. All pale with rage, he ranks on ranks overthrows, for blood he gasps, and thunders midst his foes. Callimachus, the mighty leader found, in fight conspicuous, bearing death around. The lance, wheeled instant from the Persian's hand, transfixed the glorious Grecian in the sand. Fate ends the hero's life, and stays his breath, and clouds his eyeballs with the shade of death. Erect in air the cruel javelin stood, pierced through his breast, and drank the spouting blood. Released from life's impending woes and care, the soul emerges in the fields of air, then, crowned with laurels, seeks the blest abodes of awful Pluto and the Stygian floods. And now with joy great Aristides saw again proud Hippias thundering through the war, and mocking thus, "O tyrant, now await the destined blow, behold thy promised fate. Thrice mighty king, obey my javelin's call, for even thy godlike self's decreed to fall." He said, and hurled the glittering spear on high. The destined weapon hissed along the sky, winged by the hero's all-destroying hand. It pierced the prince and stretched him on the sand. Then through the air the awful peals were driven, and lightnings blazed along the vast of heaven. The Persian hosts behold their bulwark die, fear chills their hearts, and all their numbers fly. And reached the fleet, the shouting Greeks pursue all Asia's millions, flying in their view. On they glorious rush, and side by side, yet red with gore, they plunge into the tide. For injured freedom's sake the indignant main, with swelling pride, receives the crimson stain. The Persians spread the sail, nor dare delay, and suppliant call upon the King of Day. But vainly to their gods the cowards pray. Some of the ships the Athenian warriors stay, and fire their bulks. The flames destroying rise, rushing they swell, and mount into the skies. Foremost Cynaegirus with might divine, while midst the waves his arms majestic shine. With blood-stained hand a Persian ship he seized. The vessel vainly strove to be released. With fear the crew the godlike man beheld, and pride and shame their troubled bosoms swelled. They lop his limb, then Pallas fires his frame. With scorn of death and hope of future fame, then with the hand remaining seized the prize, a glorious spirit kindling in his eyes. Again the Persians wield the unmanly blow, and wreak their vengeance on a single foe. The fainting Greek, by loss of blood oppressed, still feels the patriot rise within his breast. Within his teeth the shattered ship he held, nor in his soul one wish for life rebelled. But strength decaying, fate suppressed his breath, and o'er his brows expand the dews of death. The Elysium fanes his generous spirit trod. He lived a hero, and he died a god. By vengeance fired, the Grecians from the deep, with rage and shouting, scale the lofty ship. Then in the briny bosom of the main they hurl in heaps the living and the slain. Through the wide shores resound triumphant cries, fill all the seas, and thunder through the skies. End of Book 4. End of the Battle of Marathon by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. Recorded by Nathan at antipodeanwriter.wordpress.com.